For today's double indie game review, it's two games where silence is golden, with the puzzling adventure of Cocoon and the turn-based Metroidvania design of Worldless. Cocoon comes from the lead gameplay designer behind Limbo and Inside, two other games that had their gameplay do all the talking. And this is a very fantastic puzzle game. We wake up what appears to be on a desert planet, doing basic puzzles to move around and interact with things. But then the game reveals its first big twist, and I can spoil this because it happens within the first 10 minutes of the game. When you realize that you are not on a planet, but inside almost a pocket universe aboard a massive ship. And from there, you must explore not just one micro-universe, but several, in order to do something that will affect somewhere and end up with something happening. Again, you'll have to play and try to understand the story yourself. The puzzle dynamic here is really well done, as the game goes for kind of a lean approach to its puzzles and world design. How this all works is that each micro-universe, when it's held in the player's hands, will do something. It will impact the world around in some way, shape, or form. And the puzzle design itself is built on you kind of figuring out how to manipulate the other universes using the one you're holding. And the game goes Inception's level deep, as you'll go in a universe, or go into another universe, or go into another universe, and take something from one universe back to another universe. It surprisingly is less complicated than how I said that, and the reason being is the fantastic world design. One of the things that this game does, I think more puzzle games in general should do, is that the game will cut off elements of the environment that are no longer needed or warranted. Once you've solved part of a puzzle in the area, that area and those respective elements will disable, they'll turn off, they'll go away, and it cuts off anything that would be considered confusing to the player. The only things that matter to the puzzle at hand are what you're able to interact with in any given environment. And it makes it a lot more economical, and it also keeps things from becoming too overwhelming. As once you start getting access to all the different pocket universes, it can become a little much to explore all these different little areas with all their different rules. There are bonus challenges and things to uncover, and the game has some very clever boss fights, as you'll need to figure out how to use each one of these little universes to actually get to the boss and do damage. But there are no high stakes in this game. You will never be in the position where you can die. There are no fail states, no soft locks, any locks whatsoever. It did get a little bit much, I would say, near the end. Some of the endgame puzzles do require a lot of mental gymnastics to get around, and they can get a little tiresome or tiring to do because there's oftentimes a lot more steps to move forward at that point. But with that said, this is a fantastic puzzle game, one that certainly has potential for a lot more content or a lot more stories in this universe. And if you're looking for a puzzle game that can really give your mind a trip, then I highly recommend it. We now switch over to Worldless. In this game, the universe seems to be getting split into different light side and dark sides, with the different planets or dimensions fighting against each other. In one such area, the creature apparently doesn't get to finish off its other side, and the two seem to be now at odds with each other in kind of a mixture of dimensions. In order to figure out what is going on, they must learn to work together, explore, and of course get lots and lots of upgrades. Worldless again tells most of its story entirely without dialogue. There's one creature seems to hang around and provide you with some light exposition, but all in all, this is all about kind of gestures and the beautiful world. I really like the art style and the aesthetics. Some of it reminds you a little bit of playing Grease from a few years ago. Now, the gameplay itself is quite original in what they're trying to combine with everything. This is the only Metroidvania that I've ever played where there is only one exact enemy in each area. How this game works is that you'll explore the world just like any 2D platformer slash Metroidvania. You'll look for various upgrades, hidden secrets, MacGuffins, and all that. When you come across an enemy, the game switches into a turn-based combat form, where you must follow what the enemy is going to do and use the proper defenses against them, and then use your own combination of attacks in order to win. The amount of time you have per turn is affected by, I believe, finding certain upgrades in the world, and you can also upgrade your health pool along the way. Here's where it gets very interesting. Killing an enemy is kind of the basic way. You get no reward out of it. But you can also do damage to raise the enemy's absorption meter. When this meter fills up or gets to 100%, you'll be able to do a quick mini game that if you succeed, you'll absorb the creature into your own being, awarding you one of two different kinds of skill points, which can be used to unlock various abilities on your skill tree. These abilities come in the form of either new attacks, special moves, passive benefits. You can also get kind of a super guard known as the Guard Impact that lets you end the opponent's turn and immediately start your own if you can pull it off. So a lot of the enemies in this game will vary between being tutorial or they'll teach you a new mechanic, just something that's kind of in the way, or an optional fight that will challenge you if you're good enough. And some of the kind of Metroidvania backtracking in this one will involve you coming back to earlier enemies with the right abilities that you need to break through their absorption meter faster in order to get access to it. It's a very original system, and as you play through, you'll eventually unlock your kind of other self, which gives you a completely second set of skills, tree, and abilities that you'll need to use to kind of officially beat the game and go for the true ending. This game certainly reaches for the stars, but I don't think it quite gets there. You see, with the game being entirely turn-based, it also means it's very limited in terms of combat. They are kind of going for like a rhythm or an action command system where you must properly block or dodge attacks based on what the enemy is going to do. But it can be sometimes hard to get a read on the enemy. Enemies can attack in one of three ways: a kind of normal physical, a magical, and kind of like a fusion slash ultimate move. And the fusion slash ultimate move, you don't get a perfect guard or perfect block on, it will do a ridiculous amount of damage. And trying to get the timing for that can be weird, as every enemy type has its own kind of patterns, its own time of timing you'll have to deal with, and so on. In terms of the Metroidvania aspects itself, they are good. I would say if you've played any Metroidvania in the past 5 to 10 years, you should be more than acquainted with what the game is trying to do. I did find the general mapping and exploration a little bit confusing. Instead of giving you like a full area map, you're looking at the various nodes, and you'll need to return to areas in order to find upgrades you miss, or going for the requirements for the game's ending. And it can be a little bit frustrating trying to remember where things are, or trying to do any kind of backtracking. There are kind of portals you can use to return to the hub area, but I did not see, at least in the time that I spent, a kind of like map large or map range fast travel that can let you return to previous points anywhere. Worldless is a very fascinating game. It doesn't quite hit the marks, I would say, of like a full-on Metroidvania in terms of combat, exploration, and tech upgrades, but it does do something very different with the design. And I would say that if you are someone who likes Metroidvania or kind of 2D platforming, and looking for a game that's going to give you a little bit of a different touch to it, then this should be one that is worth checking out. And with that said, we're going to wrap things up here. Cocoon was played with a retail key, and Worldless was played with a press key provided by the publisher. If you'd like me to look your games for a future stream, video, and all that, be sure to reach out. That's going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to do the YouTubing stuff people tell you to do. If you're interested in more of my thoughts on design, check out my books wherever they are sold. Visit our Discord and Patreon, and come back for daily discussions on game design here, and on game wisdom, where you some of the art and science of games.